I know you folks out there are missing story time, but we're back with another edition. All right, this is going to go way back yonder way when I was back in Delaware, worked for that Delaware State. Oh, matter of fact, I reckon I might not have been working for them quite yet, but that was on my radar. I think I was right before I was employed as a dispatcher. As I mentioned before, there was a feller named Julio. Julio kind of took me under his wing, and he was my mentor, kind of like my big brother, my father. He just took a liking to me. He knew I was going to be trouble, so he said, "I'm going to try and keep this young fellow out of trouble." So I did appreciate that, but a lot of times I would do this thing with the Delaware State Police. They called it a ride along. I would get all spiffied up, like dressed in a suit, looking like some juvenile detective or something. And I really enjoyed that. I always learned so much by hanging out with those fellows. Well, I didn't learn a whole bunch from Julio because not a whole lot up there, but I did enjoy my times cruising around with him. So I'm going to tell you about one particular evening. This was definitely in probably the early 80s. So we're in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm riding along with Julio on the midnight shift. He gets dispatched to a call of some fellers fighting off a road called Silverside Road. And I was living right down the road from there, so I knew that like the back of my hand. And all those houses on Silverside Road were all really nice, fancy houses and, respectable individuals. But I did remember there was one house that looked like a little shack out in the woods, but it wasn't in the woods. It was just on the main road. It wasn't very well kept. So that house was right behind a place called the Buggy Tavern. And the Buggy Tavern was kind of like a rough joint. You really didn't want to be out there late at night. Well, anyways, the call was about a fight. That happens. Drunk people tend to fight at times. And so Julio's trying to find the address, and I kept telling him, "Julio, I'm telling you, it's probably this house up here that looks like a shack." Well, he would never listen to me, so he had to do it Julio way rather than G-Money way. So anyway, we're driving around, and we're in an unmarked Dodge Diplomat. Do you remember them cars? Them little, I think it was a K cars. I don't know what, little Diplomat. And he was hardly a diplomat type fella that was driving me around. But we goes around and we got the windows cracked. We're just trying to listen for any type of noise or confusion or scuffles, transactions, all that stuff, all that policey stuff. So we driving around. And after the last resort, the last place he decides to check is the place I told him to check the first time. So we pull up, driver's side, the passenger side, closest to the house, which is me, little old G-Money. I'm on the passenger side, in the front seat, not in the back seat handcuffed. I'm up front, unhandcuffed. So we pull up, and I kept telling him, "Julio, I'm sure this is going to be the place." And he never could hear too well. Anytime I said something to him, he'd always say, "Huh? Huh?" So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, and it was very, very dark. It was like 2 a.m, very dark out. So I kind of glance over, and just barely, there was like a little speckle of light. I could barely see. And I see this big, burly, Hell's Angels type fella running towards the police car with a rifle in his hand. And I'm thinking to myself, we may be checking out here because I had no weapons. So I turned, to the guy who's supposed to be my savior and hero, and I said, Julio, this guy's got a rifle or a gun or something. I said, he goes, huh? So at that point, that fella was closing in real close to the car, and he didn't know who I was. It was dark to him too. So I gives him the command, freeze! And that fella froze like a statue. I said, put your weapon at your feet. And the fella did, right? So I'm like, ooh, I must have a magical voice here. I said, take 3 steps back away from the weapon. And he listens. And the whole time Julio's saying, what's going on? I said, son of a bitch got a rifle, man. He's trying to kill us. So all this is going on. And so everybody and their brother comes out of the woodwork. Now they find there's a biker with a weapon, a rifle. So all that goes on, and come to find out, the guy had fired the guy who had the rifle. His brother was in a fight with another drunk patron from the Buggy Tavern, which is right at his back door, and they were fighting over something. I don't know what, but the brother came out and took a shot, fired the rifle. I don't know if it was a warning shot, but it apparently went like right over their heads, like pretty darn close. And so people get handcuffed, slapped in the police car, and they get sent down the road. And they spent half the night trying to figure out if they're going to charge this fella with attempted murder. And little old G Money, like I had a 4-inch, I kid you not, like a 4-inch door jam, and I'm trying to, wasn't a whole lot to hide behind on a Dodge Diplomat. But I will say that fella did listen to G Money's commands. Thank God for that, because I tell you what, if I had a weapon on me, that guy would be KIA. I guarantee you that. How stupid you got to be running towards a state trooper's car with a rifle in your hand. That's just not too brilliant. But that's a true story, folks, and I'll never forget that day. Thought I was checking out. I would have never found YouTube if that fella had gotten a little bit closer and got a little more aggressive. But that's a true story. I'm not changing it for nothing.